Okay, hey y'all, I'm gonna get this pulled up. I am so excited for tonight. Pause, please. Okay. All right, here we go. Kate, by the way, I cannot see anyone, and I cannot see the chat. Can
Okay.
you guys
Is
see
it?
my screen?
I can't, but it might just
Oh,
be me. You
hold
guys
on.
can?
Hold on.
Oh, there we go. I can see it now.
Okay.
Yeah, I can watch the chat too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. All right, Kate, you want to start?
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Convo Flow. So Taylor, if you want to go to the next slide. So Convo Flow, like Carolee just mentioned too, it's kind of going to differ. It's not going to be like a script per se of the same thing every single time, obviously, because that would be silly. It wouldn't be unique to the person. They wouldn't feel, that connection. So we're going to kind of go over like ways to kind of overcome that feeling of how to kind of phrase things and where to start and that kind of thing. So just step-by-step guide of how to respond to messages in a way that gets your friend to their end goal. Okay, let me see if I can move my all of our little faces because it's up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's some tips that Taylor and I came up with. Just super simple, super basic. You can always take these, for what they are and kind of tweak them, make them your own. But the first thing I think is something that we all need to kind of like ingrain in our brains. It's that we have to be sympathetic. Like we have to figure out, like understand that these people are coming to us for help and we have to be able to help them. But first it's by understanding what they're going through. So that's the biggest thing. I think sometimes it can go kind of in our minds. At least I'm a very business focused person. And so when it comes to this part of things kind of comes not naturally to me, but it's something I have to think about and be like, okay, I have to really dig in and think about what they're going through and find, what they can relate to in my story as well. So that's a big thing to start with. Secondly, is if you don't feel comfortable navigating this on your own, use a three-way message responder. So three ways are huge. I use these all the time with Taylor when I first got started. I think every single message that I sent, I would say almost every single one, I was like, okay, hey, like you have this and this. I'm gonna talk to you about my friend Taylor. Like I'm gonna put you in the chat with her. And that was just how it worked. Like it just got so kind of robotic to me. I was like, okay, message, put it, introduce her to Taylor. And that's just kind of how it worked for me. And that helped a lot with kind of figuring out how she did it and then put my own spin on it as well. And then talk less, listen more. This is huge, like huge, huge, huge. Like I said before, they're coming to us with their struggles. So we have to be able to listen to what they're going through and sympathize with them and figure out how we can be that, tool for them in the end game as well. So this kind of brings in the thing of step by step with send, share, invite. So how many of you guys have heard of that before? Just like that three-step kind of thing. I guess I can't see faces either, so Um, okay, well, so that as far as what that is, so we're gonna just like send messages. So the first part is just a convo introduction. So send a message is the very first thing. The next part is share. So that's when third-party tools come in. So third-party tools can be anything as far as testimonies go, videos, or graphics. I am such a testimony girl. I love going to GHH and just doing a screenshot or tagging and just saying like, hey, this reminded me of you and your story. Like, just take a look and see what you think. So those are really good ways to kind of tie in what you're saying, but also bring an extra source to be like, hey, this is legit. Like this person had the exact same struggle. They took this and this, and it really worked for them. And then last thing is invite. So different ways for this as well. It could be sample groups. It could be you sending them personal sample in the mail. It could be an opportunity call, a discount code. Those are all really good ways just kind of bring them in and kind of help like try before you buy, if that makes sense. What I've done in the past, and Marissa's good at this too, is doing sample groups and just putting on stories like, hey, I know that you've been thinking about this for a while now. I know it's maybe not the most, the most thing you want to say yes to is kind of uncomfortable, but like, can I send you a sample in the mail? That's always gotten good responses for me as well. And then on the right over here, let me move these faces one more time. Okay, so we have first conversations about Plexus. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is what interests them the most. So why did they reach out? Why are they saying, yes, I want to know more about it? Like, what is that thing for them? The next thing is to be what health goals do they have going on and how can I be the support for them? So kind of dig deep in here, like water intake, medication, like figure out really what the root issue to their cause is or their issue is, and just figuring out how you can be that tool for them. And then tell me you have a combo in mind. And that's kind of where the graphics come in too. I love doing this. I'll say, hey, this combo is perfect. I think oversharing can kind of be where we scare them a little bit, if that makes sense. So making sure you don't overshare and have them talk more and tell you, but then say, hey, I'm so sorry going through that. Like this combo would be perfect for you. Let me send you a graphic and what this all entails. Like tell me what you think. The symptoms graphic is also great before you send this as well. Just kind of get them thinking about what this could do for them. And then recommending a combo and asking them all the questions. Like I said before, water intake, medication, their bowel movements, energy, all the things. Just getting that kind of feel for what they're going through before you recommend a combo is huge as well. And then if they're ready to start, so share a cart is great. I use it all the time, but also phone calls are great too. So I think definitely depending on what their schedule is or their day is or whatever, but a phone call is just so personal. I love doing phone calls. I know Taylor does too. It's just very personal and they feel like they are being taken care of. It's, relationship type thing too. You build that from the very first time they order to, their next order after that. So a phone call is just great. It can be very nerve-wracking to get on the phone with people. I know I've been there 1,000 times where I'm shaking. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like, can Taylor come on too? Like, there's just been so many times where it's just terrifying to get on the phone with somebody you never met before, potentially. But these calls really, really do make a difference. And that's kind of where you get into talk less, listen more. Because I think a lot of stuff does come up on phone calls as well that they maybe don't mention in the actual message itself, where maybe ask them a question, they go deeper into on the call than they did in the actual message, and you get more information from them there too. So, phone calls are great. And if you feel nervous about them, it's okay. That's normal. Like I said, I've been there, like everybody has. And I still get nervous about them, but it's good because the most uncomfortable things are what make us grow and what, get us to the top and figure out how to get these people the help that they need. So that's kind of all I have on combo flow, but I know Taylor has kind of like a mock combo flow she wants to share with you guys and what's worked really well for her as well.
Yes. Okay. I love all of that. And thank you for sharing because honestly, I think the way that Kate said it too is like, it's so simple. Like, have any of y'all ever felt like you're just overcomplicating it? Like I have felt that way. Like I'm just like, I will literally sit here and I'm like, this should not be this hard. Like there has to be an easier way to get from point A to point B. And so I made this graphic and I can totally share it with y'all if you guys want this. But I just kind of wanted to share with you guys how I used this in a conversation about a week ago. And there's a couple things to keep in mind here. This is not always going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Like it's not always going to be step 1, step 2, step 3, because like what Carolee had said earlier, our conversations are always different. And so how I look at this convo chart is I think and say, these are the questions I want to ask before I get them enrolled. Now, whether I ask question number 2 in step 2 or whether I ask it in step 5, to me, that does not matter. It just matters that I'm asking these questions. So let me tell you guys about an example that I had this week. Okay. I reached out to a girl 2 weeks ago and I can share the voice message with y'all afterwards if y'all want, but I messaged her. And I said, hey, Jordan, I know we have not talked since high school, but I have been following your page and I have just really always admired you. I think you're a very humble human. I can tell you're a really great mom. And if anything, you're probably drowning in motherhood like I was a couple of years ago. But here's the thing. I started taking Plexus, and when I was thinking about people who would really do amazing at this business, you were like fitting all of the traits in my head that I was thinking about. And so I at least had to reach out to you and see if it was something that you would be open-minded to at all. Like I know a lot of people are praying for something like this. And so are you open-minded at all to hearing about what Plexus might be able to do for you and your family? Okay. That is what I said in a voice message. She messaged me back. And she said, hey, Tay, actually, I am kind of interested. I honestly don't know much about Plexus, but I've been seeing your stories and I've been seeing kind of like the income that like it can provide for people. And I am open-minded to it. Okay. Now, if you would see here on the symptom chart, the next thing would be to ask about health issues. That's not what I did. Okay. I asked the first question. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to share more about Plexus with you. I'm so curious, like what piqued your interest about Plexus? Okay. And let me pause here and tell y'all why. This is the first question that you want to ask. And it's because Plexus provides us so many amazing things. And if we just like throw all of them at people, they're going to be like, no, too much information. No, I cannot consume all of this. Okay. But if you ask them, hey, what interests you about Plexus? You are pinpointing the exact reason that they are coming and speaking to you. Okay. The exact reason. And so she, when I asked her, she, told me, hey, like money is tight right now. You probably know, like inflation is killing us and like, we can't really afford groceries like right now. Her husband is working 2 full-time jobs and she's working 1 full-time job. And she's like, hey, we're literally making ends meet every month. And like, I do not want to live that way. That's all that she said. Okay. I messaged back and I said, oh my gosh, friend, I totally understand. I think even people who feel maybe a little bit comfortable in their financial like situation are probably still feeling this right now. Like it's just really, really heavy and really hard. And then I said, okay, I know that you want to, or no, I said, how much money a month would make it impactful for you and your family right now? Okay. I wanted a number. She came back and she said $1,000 to $2,000 a month would be great. And I said, okay. So I messaged her back and I went to step 2. Okay. And I said, hey, I hear you. Like most of the people in this business can get there around that 90-day mark. I would say like around $1,000 in like 90 days. If you really go in and you do the work, I would say I can help you get there in about the first 90 days. But my question to you is before I can help you start making a paycheck, I have to get you on some products. And so, are you open to sharing with me any health issues that you have going on that you may want some support with so I can really guide you in the right direction that's best fit for you? Okay. That's what I said back. That's exactly what I said. She came back and she said, actually, yeah, she said, I do have some health issues going on. I have a lot of weight that I haven't been able to get off like post baby. And I just have not been feeling well. I don't have a whole lot of energy, the typical things that we hear, right? So if you look at the combo chart, I go to step 3 and I said, oh my gosh, I can relate to this. Like I also struggled a lot with postpartum baby weight, and like not being able to get it off. And so what I want to tell you is I want you to have so much hope that if this can help so many of us, it can help you too. I definitely have a product combo in mind that I think would benefit you, but I want to know a little bit more if you're open to sharing. How long has this been going on? What all have you tried? Like, are you taking any medication? And then I said, but also while you're answering that, I'm going to shoot you over a symptom graphic. And if you struggle with anything on this list, will you also let me know too? That's it. That's all that I said. And it's funny, Kate and I were talking the other day and like about like medications. And I had mentioned, I said, the whole reason that I ask about that, y'all, is because I'm just going to be fully transparent. I lost a girl. I signed up a girl who wanted Plexus because she had thyroid issues. I did not ask her if she was on thyroid meds. And I had her taking her products in conjunction with her thyroid meds, and it made her very, very sick. Like very, very sick. And she ended up quitting Plexus all because I didn't know that she was on meds. If I had asked her, I would have been able to plan out her Plexus products and her meds. And so there's just a tip for y'all. If you're not asking about medications, it may sound silly, but it could be like a make or break for some people. So I would totally ask. She came back and she was like, yes, I struggle with XYZ on the symptom graphic. No, I'm on no meds, blah, 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 blah. Okay. At this point, when you offer a product combo, they're going to be open to what you're hearing because you have listened to them. You have asked so many questions about them that they truly feel like you genuinely care and that you're not just trying to push product. Okay. So at this point, I go on to step 4. And I said, okay, Jordan, listen, I want to thank you so much for being so open with me. I know talking about health struggles is probably not your favorite thing. But based off of everything that you have said, I definitely have a product combo in mind. I'm going to send you over the graphic so you can take a look at it. But what I'm going to recommend to you is a combo called Triplex. It is our gut health combo. It's the same combo I started on almost 7 years ago. And if you take this consistently for 90 days, it's going to be able to completely restore and heal your gut, which is, I think, a really good starting point for you right now. I'm going to send you this graphic and then ask me all the questions and let's chit chat through it. Okay. I'm not asking for a commitment. I'm asking her to look at it, ask me all the questions, and let's just chit chat through it. Okay. That kind of takes people's guard down. She messaged me back and she was like, hey, this combo looks great. She didn't really have any questions for me because at that point I had built up enough belief in her. And now we're in the process of getting her signed up. Okay. So I wanted to share that with y'all because I wanted you guys to kind of see the way that I have this combo flow, but I am going to touch on one thing that Kate touched on that I want to go a little bit deeper into. We have got to sympathize with our people. We have got to sympathize. I'm going to be so honest, and I hope I don't step on toes, but if I do, I really love y'all so much. If we are not sympathizing with our people, we are coming across salesy. That's just the honest to goodness truth about it. People want to feel loved and cared about. People want to know that you have a genuine interest. My mindset when I'm talking to somebody is they are about to spend $120+ with me on products. I want them to know that I genuinely love and care about them, and that I am asking these questions because I want to guide them on a correct path. So if you noticed, every single message that I responded back to my friend Jordan, every single one started with sympathy. Every single one. I do not respond to any message until I'm like, oh my gosh, friend, that sounds so hard. I can understand why you're looking into Plexus, because you're probably just really tired of feeling like junk all the time, right? Like sympathy comes before anything. Okay. And that I honestly think is the thing that I implemented that has allowed me to start enrolling more people, is because it became less about product and more about them and more about sympathy. Does that make sense? Is that helpful for you guys to kind of hear this convo flow? I can see y'all on my screen, but I don't know if like when I scroll through and see fingers up or not, if it's like recording me doing that, which I think would be really weird. Does anybody have any questions on this before we move on? I know this is a lot, but do y'all have questions or thoughts or feedback on this?
Well, I kind of
I have
wanted to
one
add
little-
something.
Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Kate.
I was just gonna say, I think a really good thing to do too is like look back at like how your sponsor like helped you get started. Like that is one thing that I did, and it's like so cool to kind of see like how, I mean, obviously every single person on this call is successful, like every one of us. And so it's kind of cool to see like we're all in the same mindset of like sympathy has to come first, and like this isn't about us. It's not about how this sale is going to benefit us or how, you know, whatever. It's about them. Like they're coming to us because they trust us, or they're responding to us because they trust us. So I think that's a really cool thing to look at too, is like figure out how your sponsor like helps you trust them. And like that is just so cool to see too. Like we're all here because we trusted a friend of ours or somebody who was a stranger or somebody who, you know, whatever it was, but it just, that trust is what has to be built first. So that just kind of helped me when thinking about like the sympathy thing too, is like Taylor was so sympathetic to me and my goals. And so that kind of helped me trust her in the long run too.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. Marissa, I think you unmuted too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And it's actually pretty similar to Kate in the sense that I was going to say, like, when you have conversations this way, you're modeling already what it's like for them to have conversations. So you're using resources, you're connecting and being relational. And so it already off the bat helped people with the objection that you may get of like, I don't want to be salesy. Because if you're not being salesy, then they're not going to feel like they have to be salesy to be successful. Darn, and there was something else, but I lost it.
It's the after working and then momming all day. It's, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm with you for sure. Thank you guys for sharing that. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on? Okay.
Okay, wait, I remembered what it was.
Okay, say it.
It was just that. So the question that you asked, the first question, is so good. Like, what interests you the most about Plexus? I use that even when I reach out to somebody and they say that they are curious or they want more information. Even though sometimes it may seem silly, if you've already asked a question and they said that they do want information, I always still ask, because you always get more information there. You always get more information, and sometimes they'll even drop the, yeah, and maybe down the road when I love it, I'll share it. You know, like you never know what you get. So I always still ask it, even if I'm reaching out to them.
So good. So good. And you said so many things that are coming later. So that's perfect. Also you said one thing though, I just want to tell you guys really, really quick before we move on. I was notorious for saying this one phrase in my reach outs. And every time that I did, I would literally go into like my thread of like power partners. And I was like, how do I respond to this? And they're like, well, why would you ask that question if you don't know how to respond to it? And I was like, touche, that's a good response. Y'all, the thing that I would always say is, or I would ask them, are you open to learning more? And that's fine. That's a good question. But a lot of the times they would come back and they would say, yeah, I'm open. And then I'm like, okay, well, wait, now what? Like they're open to learning more. Now, what do I tell them? Like there's so much to tell them. And so what I really like to say in my reach outs is like, are you open-minded at all to seeing what this might do for your family? And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm open-minded, because most people aren't going to say, no, I'm not open-minded. And then that's when you say, okay, well, I'm so excited that you're open to this. Like I could tell you all the awesome things that Plexus does because they really are great, but I want to know like what makes you so open to this? Like I would love to know more. And then you're really figuring out what that is. So thank you for bringing that up because that was very helpful.
Well, and I just wanted to say that I ask that question all the time. It's like my go-to question is, are you open to learning more? And the reason I actually do love it is because when they say yes, I can simply say, what has you most curious? Like, and then you get more information. So like that first question is golden. Like I feel like I cannot have a conversation with somebody if I don't ask that question, because I truthfully have no idea how to guide them. I don't.
Yeah, same. Yep, I'm with y'all. Okay. Drum roll. We need like one of those little drum roll things. Okay, everybody take a deep breath first off. I know I do because I had a dentist appointment today and my heart is still racing. That is crazy, but it's true. Okay, we're going to talk about objections. I would love a raise of hands as I scroll. Who in here has battled objections? Every single one of y'all better raise your hands right now. Okay, every single one of us has battled objections. Here's the thing. If you have not yet battled objections, I love you, but your time is coming. And it means, oh, thank you, Morgan, for raising your hand. That was funny. It means nothing about you, and it means nothing about you not doing a good job. Okay. So I love y'all enough to tell you that if you get an objection, for the love, do not make it mean anything about yourself. It means nothing about you, your messages, your capabilities of recruiting. It is the simple fact that when we approach somebody about something that is out of their comfort zone, they're going to be nervous. They're going to be uncomfortable. And I would say 90% of people on this call right now probably had some type of objection with their sponsor. Probably. So it is okay. Do not make this mean anything about you. We're going to walk through 5 of the most common objections right now. And I literally copied and pasted messages that I personally respond with. I pulled some from Jordan Roddenberry because her and I have different messaging styles. And I'm going to literally lay it on the table for you right now of what you can say to objections. Okay. Would that be helpful for y'all if you guys had like legit verbiage to send? Would you guys like that? I would like that. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see this? Can you guys see like the left, or is it covered up by faces? You guys can see it? Okay, then I'm going to do this.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, thank you guys. Okay, who in here has gotten the money objection? I really want to try the products, but I can't afford it. Yes, okay. This is normally what I hear. I really want to try the products because I've been struggling for so long, but I like legit cannot afford them. So maybe in a few months I can try. Y'all, I love y'all enough to tell you guys that we cannot be submissive to objections. And here's an honest to goodness truth is that our submissiveness, our submission to their objection is validation that they're doing the right thing by not buying our product. Our lack of confidence is literally telling them and validating the thought that they should not buy our products. Okay, that is a hard truth to hear, but it is the truth. So we don't want to be combative and be like, oh, you can afford them, quit being a baby. Okay, we don't want to be like that. But we do want to push back a little because we want them to know how much we truly think that they would benefit from them. Okay. So a response that I might say is, hi friend, I totally understand that because that was me when I first started looking into Plexus too, which if I'm going to be honest is exactly why I got my products paid for. And since then our team and me personally like has made it my life's mission to get other people their products paid for too, because we never want money to be the reason that somebody cannot start feeling better. And friend, you deserve to feel better. I'm just curious, are you open-minded at all to letting me show you how to do that so money is never an issue? Okay. That is not being pushy. If we are afraid of being pushy or salesy, this is not being pushy and salesy. This is saying, I hear you and I hear that you don't have the money, but what I'm not willing to accept is to let my friend continue to suffer and feel like junk because I'm not willing to be bold about the business. Okay. And even if they don't want the business, they can at least get their products paid for. So I really like response number one, because again, sympathy, the first part is sympathy, but then it's going into, I love you too much to let money be an issue that you cannot show up as the best version of yourself. Okay. Response number two is actually one that Jordan said, and she's a little bit more just like bold in her punch, which I love. Because I am not really that way, but she said, dude, you do not need to stress about spending money so you can feel good again. Can I show you how I can get your products paid for? Just an option, because I totally needed that too. Do you guys see how these are pushy, but in a loving kind of way? Do you guys feel like when you get a money objection, do you guys feel confident in that response, or is that something that kind of makes you step back a little bit? And I'd love for y'all to unmute. I really would love to get like y'all's insight on this too.
I definitely don't feel confident when it comes to money objections. It's like my number one objection, I would say.
Okay.
The majority of messages.
Yeah. Do you feel confident in like, so like if you were to send a response like this, do you think that the outcome would be different?
I think so. I've never responded like any of these. So
okay. Well, this
I
is
usually
good.
use, well, you can use your referral link or, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, I think that the referral link option is great. And I think people do need to know about it. But what I have found, and again, this is just me, so this may be different for other people, but for me, saying like the words business or silver, or even sometimes referral link, can make people feel some type of way. People don't know what getting your products paid for. They don't know what that entails. But when people hear getting your products paid for or getting your products covered, they're like, well, yeah, that would be great if I could get my products covered. So they're not necessarily saying yes to using the referral link. They're not necessarily saying yes to going silver or starting a business, but they are saying, hey, if I could get my products paid for and I can feel better, yeah, I'm open to seeing what that looks like. And then at that point, and this is kind of when I would go back and say, okay, I'm so glad that you're open to this. I'm going to be honest, like when I got my products covered, it was so simple. I literally grabbed my 3 people that were in my inner circle. For me, it was my mom, my grandma, and my husband. And I just called them and I said, hey, I'm doing this Plexus thing. I'm really excited about it. And I would love for you to do it like with me for like the next 60 to 90 days so we can do it together. Would you be willing to be my accountability partner and do it with me? Right? Like, and so it's going back to them and it's casting the vision that like, hey, getting your products paid for is not that hard. And then I physically ask them on the phone or in a voice message. I say, if I were to ask you right now, who are like your top 3 people in your inner circle that if you called right now and said that they would say yes. And I would say 98% of people message me back with physical names of their top 3 people. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Can I help you message them? And they're like, yeah, tell me what to say. And most people from that will go silver. I think it's almost reverting away from words that may scare people and just going back to the simplicity of like, I love you too much to not let you start because of money. Can I just show you what this looks like? Because it's really way more simple than like you probably think it is. Is that helpful? Like, is that transition into that a little bit less scary? Okay. All right. Let's go into our next one. I've tried everything like this before. Who has gotten this one? Me. This was me. So when I started Plexus, I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I actually did another network marketing company. And this was the actual excuse that I gave Jordan. I said, well, I've tried something like this in the past and it didn't work for me. So I'm not going to do that again. So when I put these messages in here, just know like it's because I actually use them and they did work. So a message that I may get from somebody may be like, hey, this sounds so good, almost too good to be true, which is exciting, but I'm just nervous to spend the money and it not work because I've tried everything else. Okay. Again, we want to have sympathy for them, but we don't want to be submissive to their answer. We want to be confident. So a response that you could say to something like this is, hey, Of course. But goodness, do I understand that? That is exactly how I felt after struggling with migraines for 10 years. The idea that something like gut health could be the answer did not seem possible at all. And sometimes I even tell them it honestly kind of made me angry because I've been struggling for so long. Like, I wish I would have known about this sooner. I will tell you though, Plexus does give you a 60-day money back guarantee because they know lots of people feel this way. Would you be open to trusting me for just 60 days, being consistent, and then we can go from there? Okay. We are asking for micro commitments. Okay. We are not asking them to go all in forever and ever and ever and ever. We are asking them, will you just give me 60 days? Plexus gives you a 60-day money back guarantee. Will you give me 60 days? That's it. Okay. Most people are going to be like, yeah, I'll give you 60 days. Okay. And then around day 60, they're probably going to start seeing some health wins. And so then at that point, I'm just really intentional about shouting out their health wins. Okay. Response number 2 is, hey, I get it. There are so many people who come into Plexus feeling this exact same way. So just know, friend, that you are not alone. Can I help you feel, or how can I help you feel more comfortable and confident starting this for 60 days and seeing how much progress we can make? Because I really want you to feel excited. Okay. This is one of those things, y'all, when somebody feels like they've tried everything before and it has worked, asking them to make some type of large commitment is going to feel very scary to them. And they're probably going to try to say no. So asking them to just give you micro commitments is going to be one of the things that is going to get them off of that ledge. If they know they can take the products for 60 days, return it if it doesn't work, and that's what they have to commit to, I would rather them commit to that than them commit to nothing at all. So I'm willing to ask for that micro commitment if that means I can get their foot in the door, right? And then I will tell y'all a little tip that I do with this is like, let's say I get somebody started on Triplex, right? Well, I want them to fall in love with the products in 60 days. So I'm going to send them a sample of Active. I'm going to send them a sample of Hydrate, because the more products I can get them to try in the first 60 days, the more likely I have a chance of getting them to fall in love with something. So I will offer them, or I would just surprise them in the mail with samples to try. So I can try to get them hooked on things in that time frame. Does anybody have any thoughts with this one? Have you guys ever tried this? I know, Kate, you have a lot of good messages. Like, I know our styles are kind of different because like you talk to a lot of college kids, I talk to a lot of moms. And so our networks are kind of different. Have you ever used something different and it's worked out for you, or use this in like your kind of way?
Yeah, I feel like the verbiage is very much so the same, especially when it comes to like the business objection that you just shared, or the objection of money I meant. That was like very much similar as far as the verbiage goes, especially when you sympathize with them. It just goes back to sympathy. Like I was the same way. Like I couldn't afford my products when I first ordered them too. Like I get that. I think just sharing my story a lot. Like Taylor, you're very good at doing that too. So a lot of times messaging, I'll just be like, listen, like I struggle with XYZ too. I was, down in the dumps for this amount of time. Plexus came into my life when I didn't expect it to, and here I am now. I think sharing your story, in a very like talk less, listen more way, where it's not oversharing, but sympathizing with them, letting them know that like this has been your journey too. You've seen results too, and that's been really cool for me too. So I think just like figuring out how to relate to them, based on your personal experience too, has been helpful for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Just like kind of
Okay.
like the first response, I think is
The
kind
first
of
one.
how too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Okay, y'all, we are going to talk about some business objections. Okay, because if you're anything like me, in the beginning of my business, I got a lot of product objections, but I got an unbelievable amount of business objections. And I know that season of like, I just want a business builder. How in the world do I get a business builder? And to get a business builder, we have to be like willing and know how to work through some objections. And so I'm going to give you guys some actual verbiage that I do when it comes to this. How many of y'all have gotten the objection of, I don't have time to do this business? Every single person's hand should be raised. Yes. Okay. Y'all, here is the deal with that. People do not know how much time that this takes. And the disservice that we could be doing to someone by validating that thought is enormous. And so we want to be very good at, again, sympathizing with their situation. They don't want to feel like they're on this like island by themselves, but they also need somebody to kind of give them a little bit of tough love. Okay. So this is a message that I would probably receive if I was getting a objection. Honestly, I would love to do something like this, but I legit have no time. I have 3 kids. I stay at home, I clean the house, and I have so much on my plate. I don't even shower most days. I love seeing what you have accomplished, but I don't have that kind of time. Okay. Now I could be like, oh, I totally understand. Like being a mom is so hard. Doing all the things is so hard. I understand. If and when your load ever lightens up, like, let me know. Okay. That is something that we don't want to say because they're not going to let you know, because guess what? Their load is not going to lighten up. It's just going to get heavier. That's just the reality of it. So what we would want to try to say is, I totally understand, friend. I was that exact same way. I was working a 10-hour shift at a hospital. I was a mom of 2 newborns. So I have so much grace for all that you are doing right now. But I'm just curious because I know that you are open-minded to this opportunity. What does make you excited about this if time wasn't an issue? Okay. There is so much goodness in this message. One, you are sympathizing with them. They want to know that they are not alone. They are going to relate to people who are relatable. And so for me, I did work a 10-hour shift at a cancer hospital, and I did have a newborn baby at home when I started this business. I was the epitome of legit no time. And so when somebody gives me that objection, I'm not going to spew my life story on them, but I am going to tell them, hey, friend, I totally get it. My life was pure chaos. Just because it's not pure chaos in a 9-to-5 kind of way right now does not mean it wasn't pure chaos when I started. And so I want them to relate to me in that way. I'm complimenting them because they have a lot going on. I'm trying to compliment them. And I'm also saying, if time wasn't an issue, what makes you excited about this business? Let me kind of steer this really quick. They're going to message back and they're going to say, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I never get date nights with my husband. We're living paycheck to paycheck. My husband and I desperately need a vacation, and we can't afford one because we don't have an extra income and our marriage is suffering. I don't know, just throwing that out there. Okay. What I'm going to respond back to is I'm going to say, again, sympathy, friend, I'm so sorry. I wish I could come through this phone and hug you right now because I totally can relate to that. My husband and I were in a very similar situation. But what I found was, even though my life was crazy, I found a way to fit Plexus into the nooks and crannies of my day, where I kind of pulled like 2 or 3 30-minute chunks of time, where I could, and it was perfectly imperfect for a while, and that's okay. But that is like what really grew us to a place to where we didn't have to worry about that anymore. And so I'm just curious, again, because I know that you're open to this. Are you open to me showing you what that looks like? Because I know if I can do it, that you can do it too. Are you open to that? Okay. Telling them a little bit of how I navigated that season. So like for Marissa or Katie, they're full-time teachers, right? Like how they work this business is going to be different than me, but they're probably sharing that with their potentials who are teachers because they're going to relate to the chaos of what they're going through. Or Kate, being in school, you're going to use this and tweak it to talk to somebody who's doing 8 a.m. classes or something and feels like they're drowning in homework, right? So is this helpful for you guys to see this business objection and how you can respond to the no time? Do you guys relate to this at all? Do you feel like this is, or like have any of y'all used this and it has turned out to work in regards to recruiting a business builder who has had the objection of no time?
Yeah, I've used this like similar thing. I think it's cool to see too, like the feel, felt, found method. Like that's what it was like what I learned as far as objection goes. And like in your response, it's like it's not saying the words feel, felt, found, but it's exactly what it is. Like I understand is the feel, what I felt the same way. And then the found is like it worked for me. Like here I am. So I think it's just cool to kind of see that it is like back to the basics, but you kind of tweak it in a way that makes it sound like you and kind of relate to them in a different way as well. So the feel, felt, found method helped me a lot. I think that your message is like that exactly. So
Yeah, I love that.
I
Okay.
just wanted to add
Oh.
like a little layer to
Yeah.
that, real quick, because I get this one all the time, which is funny if anybody follows my life, but I get this one all the time. But I get it in a way that's like that people want to know how I'm doing it with being busy. And so I think it's a value add to be able to share how you make it work when you're busy, or even share other people's stories that you know would relate to people. So this just brings me back to posting in general, like being able to share about what you're doing. Like all of these objections, I love to post to them, is what I do a lot of times to help overcome them, like on the forefront. Like, I know people are thinking this. I know I've had this conversation before. So that's probably a different call on posting, but I just want to plug that in there because it is something to think about when you're sharing about Plexus.
I'm with you. Yeah. It's almost like getting on the forefront and talking about it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for sharing that. That was great. Okay. Business objection, feeling salesy. I felt this way when I started Plexus because my last network marketing company, the way that I was trained to work was very salesy, and I was terrified of coming across salesy, because if I'm sure some of y'all can like relate to this, but one of my like core values is authenticity. And so I don't align myself with anything where I can't be authentic. And so the idea of having to be salesy to somebody, I was like, no. I need to figure out a way that is not salesy. And so because I understand this, I put in here, I love what you're doing. And I think it's great that you're supporting your family, but I don't want to be salesy. Y'all, Marissa literally hit the nail on the head earlier. This is exactly what I say back. I was like, oh girl, I get it. But do you think that I was salesy? And then I hush. And almost every single time they come back and they're like, no. And then I'm like, okay, well then why do you think you need to be salesy then? And then they literally don't say anything because they have nothing to say, because it is this like deep-rooted fear of being salesy. But because you're not salesy, because you're doing this convo flow and because you're doing it well, you're not being weird, you're not being salesy. They don't think you're salesy. And so they're like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to be salesy. And then objection blocked. And then you just move right along. So this one is really easy. We don't need to spend much time on that, but that's literally what I say. Okay, last one. Okay, who has had the objection sharing right away? I don't get this one too much, but I do get it sometimes. And I don't know if my friend Katie Segrest is able to share. I don't know. I mean, you're on here, but you're muted. So I don't know if you're taking care of your kiddos. But I'm going to call her out, because she gave me this objection when she started her products, and she gave me this objection of, I want to share when I have, like, I don't want to share like right away. Like I want to have like results first. Okay. So this is something that I might experience. Hey, super excited to start my products. Definitely think I'm open to sharing my journey, but feel like I just want results for myself first. That way I can be more relatable to my audience, because I'll actually have results. So maybe ask me again in like a month or two. Y'all, this is a objection that can be hard to navigate without some guidance, only because that is a reasonable request. Okay. Like that's actually not unreasonable. Okay. Some people, if their core value is authenticity, some people genuinely do want to wait. But here's how I navigate that. I said, hey, I felt that the same way early on. Can I just be personal and share something with you? My friend Jordan encouraged me to share as I went, just like I would if I was pregnant. And I actually found that was way more relatable for people, rather than just giving them like months of results all at one time. And I don't know what the science is behind it, but there's something about following somebody's journey that's really inspiring to people. Would you be open-minded to letting me help you at least make a post about it on social? And then we can just go from there. Okay. Again, going back to micro commitments, we are not asking them to share every single win. We're not telling them, hey, I want you to tell your audience when you're pooping. Okay. Like that's weird. We're not asking them to share all of those things, but what we are asking them to do is to just be open to letting people in on their journey. When I say things like, I just share it like I would if I was pregnant, people don't think twice about sharing a pregnancy journey, but they way overthink when it comes to sharing a health journey. Why? Logically, that does not make any sense. So it's our job to help them see it's not weird if you share your journey. It's okay if you want to wait, but also like there's a lot of people who get really interested when they're like watching your wins as you go. Like it's encouraging to them to watch you start not really have any results. And then in a week, share about how you're sleeping better. And then in 2 weeks, share about how you have more energy. Like that is really cool for people to see the progress instead of just like throwing them 3 months of results at one time. So that's what I do when I battle this objection. And I do feel like it's worked really well because it just brings some logic back into the thought, I guess, if that makes sense. And so anyways, does anybody have any thoughts on this one? This is the last one. And then after this, we're done. So if anybody has any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear. No?
I just love how confident that response is. Like just what you said earlier about confidence and like kind of diminishing their like the thoughts that come in their mind that maybe I shouldn't do this. Like it's so confident. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I really do think y'all that like sympathy and confidence are two of the biggest things that you could have in this business that are going to get you far. Sympathy for people is the number one thing. Like, yes, we are in a sales industry. Like we should have no shame about that, but we are also in a relationship type business. And so there has to be a level of sympathy that we express to our people. But then confidence, like we've got to carry this level of confidence that no matter what you throw my way, like I have something for that. Like it's either something to help you with it or it's a response back. But I also want to be really careful with saying that because at least for me, and y'all please chime in if you have felt this way, but I did not come into this business with confidence. So the confidence that I feel like I have now is something that I have learned by being consistent in this combo flow. It is things that I have done by being consistent and learning certain things about the business. And so if you're feeling like, well, that's great, but like, I don't have that level of confidence, that's okay. The more that you do this, the more confident that you're going to get. Confidence comes from you doing it consistently. And so just be committed to just doing it consistently. And if you fail, that's okay. We've all failed. But just get back up and do it again, because that is where that confidence is going to come from. So, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, there we go. Okay. Any thoughts, feedback, questions, anything? I'm going to check the chat in case I missed anything. Hopefully I did not. Carolee, need to get more comfortable with phone calls. Just like flex the muscle. Like I'm going to be honest, it's going to be so awkward at first, and that's totally okay. It is okay if it's awkward at first. But the more that you do it, the more confident you're going to get. Morgan, you asked, do we always recommend triplex? No. I recommend triplex as like a base. And that's normally what I tell my people. Like I have a girl I'm responding to tonight that I want to get on triplex, but I also want her on X Factor Plus and Ease. And so what I'm going to tell her is, okay, hey, looking at your symptoms, my recommendation is at minimum, I want to get you on triplex because like that is a solid base. Like that's what's going to heal your gut. That's what's going to kick us off to a really good start. But I also want to see you get on our anti-inflammatory and our multivitamin to support you in this way. So we can either add them on now and kickstart it all together, or we can just start at the baseline of triplex and we can look at adding these on around that 60 to 90 day mark, which one like is better suited for you. So I'm telling her, you're getting on all of these products that you're either just doing it now or you're doing it in 90 days. But I always tell them that I like to start there as a base. So is that helpful? Yes, Kate, thank you for putting that. Our lack of confidence is validating their thoughts that they should not do this. That it's 100% true. Okay. All right, you guys, thank you for being on. I will have this recording up ASAP if you would like to share it with your teams. And yeah, if y'all don't have anything else, then we're good to go. Bye, y'all.